One,
You're good.
I have one thing I want to mention. I know soon is gonna be coming the volunteer awards dinner.
Yeah.
And I would like to propose a possible change in how we vet it. I know normally it's the commissioners, but I'm put in a little difficult a situation because I'm a volunteer also.
That's just Kathy.
And the thing is, I think we should have some input from the staff here at the senior center, because they know better what people do. And I just don't like how it was done last year with like almost a campaign like it was an election. There's some hidden people here that might have good talents that really are great volunteers that don't get exposed at all just because everyone was thinking it was just the lunch people. So I would like more input put on by the staff here on who they believe should get it, besides maybe the commissions, but I'm kind of put in an upward, position, being a volunteer also. And whoever they determine, let the chips fall where it may.
So Karen, do you mind if I answer that?
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Were you on the commission this time last year? I don't, because I was across the street.
Yes,
So the staff does review the applications and make some recommendations to the commission, but it is the commission's purview to make the final decision. The campaigning thing has happened for years, unfortunately. Whether it was an individual or a group being, we'll get a good like 20 or 30 applications or responses, nominations. And the staff will kind of go through and be like, we recommend this person, but it is the commission's decision. It's written down in some rule somewhere. I don't know how to stop the campaigning. I think it's just the personalities of what it is, but if it makes you feel any better, the staff doesn't really listen to that. It's not a vote of like how many nominations you receive. It's not like the crew that won this year. It wasn't that they received the most nominations, although it's who the staff kind of recommends and who the commission ultimately ends up deciding to pick.
I mean, because like last year, what actually happened, and I won't say who, but people going around like with the form saying, here, put me as volunteer of the year,
Sure.
sign here.
Yeah,
Or
but
what?
again, we don't count up and say, this person got 10 nominations and this person got 5 nominations. We just look at them all. So, I know that there is campaigning going on the past couple of years, but it doesn't really sway our.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
really want to see more input by the staff, because
Sure.
you know what's going on.
If you'd like this year, we could give you a more, not a formal report, we can give you a detailed report of, why we are recommending who we are recommending and who else also got nominations, if that's helpful to you.
Yeah, I just think it's fair, because also you could have someone who really helps out and it's not exposed out there at all.
I think unfortunately, one of the downsides to the volunteer of the year program is that there is always somebody who's kind of disappointed, right? Like, oh, I do a lot for this program. How come I'm not volunteer of the year? And the answer is we have 75 plus volunteers and every single one of them is valuable. So we have to, be selective on who we choose.
I just want to make it fair.
Yeah, I agree.
And
So
that's
this
what the
actually-
dinner is for. The dinner is for all the volunteers to thank them. And when people get up and speak, they try and thank all the volunteers as well. So I don't know if
This-
we're doing a good enough job at it.
We can definitely talk about that too. But this is public participation, so we have members of the public who would like to speak. Good. All right, Karen.
Okay. Approval of meeting minutes. Did everyone get the minutes?
Yep. Yeah. I motion to approve.
We have a
Anyone want a
motion.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Okay, Jamie, staff report? Seems like you're frozen.
Oh, there's back. Okay.
Ah,
All right, you're back. Staff reports are next. Do you want me to do that? Go ahead with that.
yes, please.
Okay, we will get to the nutrition program updates and the future plans, and there's a separate item for our fundraising as well in a minute. This is the staff report about what happened in the past month. We had this is like a broken record, a full program of special programs throughout the month, to the point where I think I might have mentioned this last month, we are officially out of room in our newsletter, and we're going to need to have more pages added. So that's a good thing. And the newsletter, by the way, is completely paid for by advertising at the end of the newsletter. We don't pay anything for that. So we had some highlights. We had a storyteller come in and tell tales of winter wonderlands. We had a very popular tips for managing weight program. We had a conversation on cancer education and empowering folks with cancer and cancer prevention. Our Cupid crew, I believe for the third year in a row, came in and made Valentine's Day cards to be delivered to the members of the community on Friday. We had a great program called Getting Unstuck, Easing the Grip of Habits. The Central Connecticut Health District did a walk-in flu clinic on January 24th. Just so many programs. We had a program about living your legacy. We had a program about artificial intelligence. And we had a workshop for the Matter of Balance class, which is one of the evidence-based programs we do to give folks information about that upcoming 8-week session. And that is an evidence-based program, which we just partnered with the Central Connecticut Health District to run that program as well. So we're starting to partner with them for quite a few things, which is they're a fantastic resource. So January is very, very busy. I'll talk about February in a couple minutes. In other news, first program and service report, as I mentioned in the email, we did have a staff change. One of our drivers, Paula Quattromani, retired effective today. So we wish her well in time with her family and kids and grandkids. We are in the process of hiring a replacement per the union rules and regulations. It had to be posted to the union first. There was no interest, so the job was immediately posted to the public. It's pretty imperative that we fill that out quick, and that we fill it with the correct person. So there was some concern that was brought to my attention from some folks online that this vacancy would cause people to miss their doctor's appointments. So I really just want to assure anybody who's listening that that is absolutely never going to be the case. We have many layers of protection in place with our existing wonderful staff. We have the backup drivers from the bus garage who come in and will help out when we're short-staffed. We can utilize rideshare in a pinch or in an emergency. And we've had our office staff get in our car and drive people, as a last resort. So we are well aware of how to operate short-staffed, and we under no circumstances, the only circumstance would be weather, but under no weather-related circumstances is anybody going to miss a ride due to this retirement. Everybody's going to get to their doctor's appointments and their bank appointments and their hairdresser and the library and here. So there's nothing to worry about there.
Can it be replaced by a non-union?
Well, the posting, so this was a union job, so it has to be replaced by somebody who will be in the union. The union rules require that we post the job to existing union members for 5 days. And if nobody applies from the union, then it goes out to the public. So the 5-day period is closed and nobody applied. So the job was just posted to the public a couple hours ago this afternoon upon the closing of the union job. So when we hire somebody, they would become part of the ASME union.
Now, as the salary wise, because I know if people have been here a while, their salary goes up as years go by.
Correct.
So that entry position, it would not be replaced with the same salary as.
There are steps. There are 3 steps to the union. So when you are brand new, you're on step 1. So this person, assuming that somebody from the union doesn't change their mind and apply, which they can do, would start at step 1, which is somewhere around $27.50 an hour, I think. And then after 1 year, it becomes step 2, and then you max out at step 3. And then each year, of course, if the town council approves, or if the contract calls for annual raises, then they get the annual raises, whatever percentage it calls for in the contract. So this person would become a union position. We don't have any option to not have them be a union person. The contract actually writes this position for 20 to 40 hours. They receive full benefits, including sick and vacation time. While it is a position that is kind of an anomaly in the contract, as 20 to 40 hours, we actually budget for it to be 25 hours per week. So that's where the person will likely work. Occasionally a couple more if they're covering for our lead dialer driver, if she's out on vacation or something. So that is our staff update. Everybody else is doing well and working very hard. I also mentioned in the email about a grant that we're working on. It's also related to transportation. had a couple of conversations with Lillian, and they brought up the need to offer evening programs here and there as for two reasons. Older adults are working longer and retiring later, and folks in the disabled community, often have jobs, during the day as well, and it would be appropriate to have, programs available in the evenings. There are 10 reasons why we don't do this right now, mostly due to resources. But we are looking at occasionally not regularly yet because we don't have the money for that, but occasionally offering here a program in the evening that would be of interest to older adults or disabled adults. And part of that, would be providing transportation. So I am actually partnering with the Parks and Recreation Department and Bill DeMayo to apply for an AARP grant that would allow us funding for evening time transportation. Not only for when we have an occasional program here, but for things like community events, parks programs, the summer concerts, things like that. So that we're working together to apply for that. I'm not really sure what the turnaround time would be on hearing back from them, but I'll keep you posted. That's just one component. But even if we're not able to do that right now, I am going to work on the spring when it's that light out a little bit later, and seeing about if we can do something of interest here and there, at paint night, some sort of lecture or program or informational session that would be of interest to people, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if we have any interest. So that is it for my staff report outside of the whole nutrition thing. Any questions?
Okay.
I just
Program
want to,
and
I just
Go
wanted to
ahead,
make a quick
Lily.
comment about that. Yeah. So, and I appreciate, the meeting that I had with Jamie and I had it with Barbara too for programming, too, that we're going to try to do, like one night a month and, once it gets to the springtime and everything like that. So to see how it works and everything like that. And we also talked about having a program later in the day, like one a month, like around 3 p.m. Something like that, while the staff are still there, but it's a little bit later, more people, especially disabled that might work or things like that can come as well. And I came up with a list of some different programs I found, so I'm just going to send that list to Barbara. I think would probably be best than like listing them off. If Jamie, that would probably be best as me just to send them over to Barbara, and then once the spring comes, see what we can do.
Sure.
Okay.
We could meeting too. We could talk about it and we'll work through it with Barbara and share with the commission.
Okay. All right, perfect. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Lillian. Jamie, program and service report.
That's what I just did. The next.
Oh,
item.
that was, yeah, okay. Old business. Budget update.
Yes, so the budget was, my proposed budget was previously submitted to the town manager's office. We actually talked about it at our last commission meeting. The only major changes would be to request to increase the salary of the vacant part-time dial ride driver. This is the non-union position. It's 19 hours a week and it's been vacant for quite a while. To a $20 per hour salary, $3 an hour times 19 hours a week. It's a couple $1,000s for the whole year. And that would make us more competitive in being able to hire a qualified person with a CDL to do that part-time job. Right now, the Newington Senior and Disabled Center and all of the other senior and disabled centers are fighting for somebody, like the same group of candidates for those positions, because there are very few folks with CDLs who are qualified drivers who will drive for minimum wage. So the hopes are that we will attract some qualified candidates for that part-time 19-hour per week position. It's non-union. The hours on are flexible to our needs. And when we get that, not only will that, of course, reduce the effort, or the stress on our two existing drivers, the two union drivers, but it will allow more flexibility for things like late afternoon programs and the evening programs and things that we want to do that we aren't able to do with two drivers, such as taking trips to the mall or to the movies or adventure clubs, or, things that we used to do back pre-pandemic when we had 3 drivers on occasion. So that's what we're looking for. That job is not currently posted because we need to prioritize the union position that just became vacant. But we're hoping that we might get candidates for the union position that maybe aren't quite ready for that step, but might want to start off in the part-time position or something of that nature. So we're working on that. So that's our budget. update. That was the only change I requested to the town manager. We'll see if he puts it in his recommendation to the town council at the end of this month, whether or not he decides to do so is up to him. The budget goes to the town manager, or to the town council on March 3rd, I believe. Our, department's budget will be discussed on Saturday, March 15th. And then the council will do its deliberations and its public hearings and decide on the final budget at the end of third week of April, I believe.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. Nutrition program?
Yes, so last night, the town councilors who were here heard my long presentation last night. You, have all received a memo about the status of our nutrition program. I'll just run through very quickly some of the main points. There are no updates to whether or not we're going to be funded again. No updates from CRT, no updates from our funders, no updates from the state or federal representatives, nothing. So we are status quo in that regard. We have, as of the end of January, we completed 3 full months of replacement meals for Meals on Wheels and for the congregate lunch. Mostly due to our wonderful staff, we are able to provide the replacement congregate meals at a far lower cost than anticipated. If we had to purchase those meals from CRT, they'd be $13 and a couple cents per person. We have some generous restaurants in the town, the high school, a couple of senior living centers, nursing homes, who have worked with us to provide these meals at a reduced cost. So the average replacement meal, we've replaced about 900 and something meals per date, is costing us closer to $5.50 as opposed to the $13.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we also have had 7 or 8 days where donors, either anonymous individuals or the same, like the senior housing places that have just donated meals. They've donated pizza, not cash, but they've donated pizzas or salads or sandwiches or whatever. And that was an additional 200 meals donated to date. So on the Meals on Wheels side, we are replacing, gosh, I don't even have it in front of me, but we're replacing about $1,600 worth of meals per month. And I think that works out to about 100 and, gosh, I don't know. I'm sorry, $1,600 per week. I'm confused by my own data. $1,600 per week. So it's about 160 meals that we're replacing per week. And those we can only purchase from CRT. We don't have any other options right now to meet the nutritional and medical needs of those people. So all in all, we are spending just over $2,000 per week on replacement meals, which is less than the $3,000 per week we projected because we've been so efficient and been able to receive so many in-kind donations and discounted meals and everything else. In addition, I want to mention that an anonymous individual has donated $25,000 to be earmarked for Meals on Wheels. And this person is very, very stringent or serious that they don't want to be identified. So a lot of people have asked, and I am sworn to secrecy, but we're very grateful for that person. And if it's okay with the commission, I'd like to write a letter on the behalf of this commission. I know who the person is, so I could send it to the person as a thank you.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
please.
Yep. So we have gathered about, not including the recent $25,000, but just prior when I wrote this memo, we had gathered $96,000 in funding that comprised of the ARPA funding and the council allocated funding that was done before this cut. Then we've received an additional about $6,000 or so in donations. Some anonymous, some not, some from members, people, the community has really stepped up. With those donations, we can, and with the continued efficiency of the staff, and with no other changes, we're able to fund the congregate program fully through September 1st right now. But it's important to note that's with no other changes, no other fundraising, no other donations. But on the other hand, if prices increase, if we have an increased need, if there are any further cuts to the federal funding that CRT does get, then obviously that date falls backwards and it could take, so this is something that's fluid and we keep an eye on it pretty much every day. You know, we're kind of keeping records and data. I have spreadsheets and, you know, we know how many people we're feeding per day and how much every single meal costs. With the generosity of our anonymous donor, we are fully funded for Meals on Wheels with the same caveats of usage and costs through December 10th. So we know that we are good for a bit, but we're not good forever. At this point, we don't think I could be wrong, don't think we're going to ever be restored to the level of funding we were at before. I should say CRT will not be restored to the level of funding that they were before. So it's far past time, and I've been talking about it for months already to just permanently come up with a solution to reduce our usage of CRT. We intend to have 2 days a week replaced permanently by July 1st, I'm sorry. And there are several ways we're doing that through grant funding. I had a nice discussion with Sonia, who was our grant writer at the town, after the town council meeting last night. And it's been on her radar for some time, but she's got some ideas and some thoughts, and I'll continue to work with her. We're looking at some permanent sponsors. We're looking at permanent agreements with these local restaurants who have helped us out quite a bit. So there's a lot of different ways we're doing it, even if it's somewhat piecemeal, where we know like once per week we're replacing meals with this restaurant, and once per week high school's replacing meals, and we have this grant, we will get that done. If we can get more than 2 days a week, we will, but 2 days a week is our starting point right now. So that even if CRT comes back and says we're funded again, we know that funding is likely tenuous, so we're just gonna do it on our own. I think that's it. We were concerned a couple weeks back about the potential federal funding freeze. Nobody knew how it could affect CRT and our funding, even the funders didn't know. Obviously it didn't happen, so it's okay, we move on. But the Older Americans Act is funded by federal grant funding, so it very likely would have affected our programs at some point. Again, didn't happen, no big deal, we move on, but we are always working to prepare for the worst, in case something does come down the pipeline, and we need to be ready for it.
Jane, if I could just ask, for the restaurants or the different places that obviously donate for the meals and stuff, I'm sure the center is sending some sort of a thank you note.
We
or
are, yep.
something like that. But is it also common knowledge to the people that are having that lunch of who is providing it? So that they might, I'm just throwing out, let's just say it's TJ's or Steve's Place or something like that, that people might say, oh, this was really good, I'm gonna go there, to get my dinner or get whatever, is just, and it's good, it's good for, people to know that might say, oh, I really enjoyed this, and I'll go to that place to get it for myself.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So we do acknowledge them like on the sign on the table, but
Okay.
Counselor Pedrego last night made the exact same point as you, and we were going to do some public acknowledgements as well. So not only the members who are eating lunch, but anybody who might be looking at Facebook or at the newsletter or whatever can see this public acknowledgement. Almost all of our individual contributors who are donating, especially in-kind meals, have asked to remain anonymous.
Right, I can understand.
And one of the
that.
restaurants did too, which is, I'm like, it's free advertising, but that's what they wanted, so we'll honor that. But other than that, yes, absolutely, I think we're gonna put a big effort forth to thank these folks, and they're all local restaurants. So we're thankful to have them in the neighborhood, and we'll thank them very much for their efforts.
What about if, on the bulletin board in the cafeteria,
Mhm.
we have a list of following places have helped us for our meal program, so be really exposed out to the public that they've done that.
Sure, it's a good idea.
And one other suggestion I have is I'm finding like a lot of people are signing up for meals.
Mhm.
And we need to be very careful that we don't waste money on people signing up and not showing up.
Okay,
So, I don't know if you or Barbara could speak to the public and basically say like, look what's on the menu, make your choices wisely. Don't just sign up
Mhm.
because we're really short on money. We don't want to waste money. And if you're not gonna attend, then cancel.
we keep an eye on that. I haven't seen a big issue with that at all. I think people actually attend these meals more than they attend the CRT meals once they've signed up.
Mhm.
But it's a great point. And we do, every now and then, if we have an issue with somebody, obviously we're gonna check in on them, make sure they're okay. If they don't show up for a couple days in a row, and make sure they're not sick or hurt or something, but we will address it privately with that person with exactly what you just said. Like, we have very limited resources, so please, obviously things happen, sometimes you have to cancel, but please
But
be
at least
aware of
if the
that.
public is aware, like, don't just sign up.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a member of our, you have to be, you know, a member of our lunch program anyway to do it, so it's not just anybody from the street. Although if somebody from the street walks in, we take them too, but you know, it's the same group of people that we serve. But yes, I agree, that's a good idea.
I'm sure the weather plays a role.
Yeah,
You know,
there's always,
there's, you know, minor, weather probably is the biggest factor that somebody decides like, oh, I'm not gonna, it looks like it's gonna get bad, I might not go, you know, they're not comfortable or whatever.
so, okay, any other questions on that portion of nutrition? Okay, so, I already kind of talked about our future plans, which was on there, the funding and fundraising update portion of that agenda item. We met with Lillian, who's offered to take the lead on planning a fundraiser, and she recommended a dinner dance fundraiser. The date is Friday, April 25th. We decided on that date specifically because of availability of folks, and we didn't want to be too close to our volunteer dinner, and we didn't want it to be like over the summer when people went on vacation. A couple places that we reached out to weren't available, so I reached out to the Portuguese American Club. And you do typically need to be a member there to rent their beautiful space there. But they rented it to the fire department for their ball. And you know, they, not only did they do that, but they're very helpful in reducing our fee to only $500. For the use of that room on a Friday night, which is a significant discount. It basically just covers their costs for cleaning and everything else. So we talked about that, the suggestions, Lillian made some great suggestions, including, you know, utilizing a DJ and doing a dance, and we talked about how we get the word out and advertising, and we're throwing around some ticket pricing, but we're kind of trying to figure out what our costs are gonna be, and we hope to get the info soon. Earlier today, Ed met with some members, you're a member of the Portuguese American Club, correct?
I'm a member of the club.
Mhm.
And my cousin on my father's side is the vice president of the club.
Mhm.
So I met with the president along with your friend, I forgot his name.
Chris, yes, I have a friend who's a member as well. Mhm.
And we discussed menu options.
Mhm.
I don't know if you could send a copy of that.
I have it right here. I'm sorry I didn't send it out beforehand.
And Lillian, I could work with you, even though I'm gonna be in Florida, I could work with you on the phone. And I'll also call them. We had some options as far as what we could actually have for food wise.
Correct.
And they mentioned, now, we don't know how many people we could actually get to come to this event. Because one of the issues they have is ours is on the 25th. The next day they have a major function. They're willing to advertise on their website our event.
Mhm.
But also, this is where we need to tap into you as far as like getting the fire department and everyone else.
Oh, we'll advertise this to the whole town. The whole town's gonna be well aware of this event, so I don't think we're gonna have an issue. Let me pass out this menu that Ed provided to us. I just got it, so I'll email it to your folks online.
Can I ask a question? Because when we had discussed about the rental, we had discussed that they don't provide food, so that there is an option that they can provide food?
Yes, there is an option. They can provide food. They can do it, but well, Jamie could probably send an email out.
I will. I'll email after this meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't
That's
have it.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
They could provide food and they would have table service and everything else that they would provide food for. When you'll get the menu. The best thing to do really is a buffet. And trust me, their buffets have tons of food on. It's not limited. There's some examples here. I also got, that's with them serving us and everything else. But also, did you make copies of this?
I did not.
Okay. I also got, other options available where if they provide, we could even have something less, it would be only like, most of the buffet items are basically on the average, I would say like $24.
Mhm.
And that's the buffet. But if you wanted to have a cut down version and not a buffet, but we would have to do all the serving and provide all the dishes, all that kind of stuff, that would be reduced to 17 with a limited menu. But Lillian, you take a look at it when she sends it out to you, and I'll be glad to
Yes.
discuss it with you.
So Ed, is this only available to members? Because I did speak to the coordinator in charge, and she said we don't provide food. So I said, okay, so we'll go and find a caterer, no big deal. So this is like new information to me, but it's great information. And I think that this is all the commission's decision, but I think the more expensive package, it includes doing the dish, somebody else doing the dishes,
Everything.
is very reasonable.
Well, I'm a.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's
I'm
a
a
number. We
member,
have an
so I
inside,
got it.
we have an inside source now, so that's good.
Well, my other question is, regarding the food, is I don't know if you had reached out to the culinary department that we had worked with in one of the schools or things like that. And I don't know if we've done any other pricing on the banquet meals. That was my question.
I have not reached out to the culinary department yet.
Okay,
Well, I have reached out to a couple of local, restaurants, vendors, caterers. And just their list prices are equal or more than to what was just provided here. Doesn't say
Okay.
that we can negotiate or ask for, them to give us a discount, but this looks like it's a very competitive price. And again, this is all the commission's decision, not mine, but I am, very interested in full service as well. That would be a good value.
And then as far as the Portuguese community that's gonna be advertised to go there, because that's gonna be a huge amount of people attending, hopefully. Even though there's another event the next day, if they know that it's being catered by the Portuguese club itself, they know the quality of the food and they come for that.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So we can discuss, well, I don't want.
yeah, let me take a look at it and then I can give you some ideas on it.
Yeah, continuous discussion over email. Thank you very much for reaching out, to your contacts.
Yes, appreciate it.
The other component of that would be the bar. I did speak to the town manager about what would be appropriate in terms of alcohol service. And he said, that they recommend using a bar in person, or I'm sorry, on the site, which is what they require at the Portuguese Club anyway. That's for liability and liquor permit purposes, and we're not running into any kind of trouble there. I'm recommending that we might do a cash bar. He also recommended that you either limit it to a portion of the evening, so it's not free flowing all night, or that you limit it to like beer and wine. I actually have to meet with the bar manager shortly to determine all of that, but I don't intend that we would be covering anybody's alcohol costs as part of the ticket, so we should take that into account for the ticket price as well.
in many events that they do have there, what sometimes they will literally do, because Portuguese people generally drink wine. And what they'll literally do is put a couple bottles of wine on each table and people drink off of that. So that's like cheaper that you do it that way. And what else was I gonna say?
My only concern with that is liability wise. If it's a cash bar, they made that decision to themselves, go to the bar and pay for their own drink. So it takes more liability out of us. Than if we're just like putting it out there. But when you discuss with the bar manager, can you get the different prices on if we just did beer and wine or if we did everything but only half the time? Like, can you get the different quotes?
Sure, that would be the prices for the individuals purchasing it, because we would do a cash bar, so we wouldn't be covering that cost. But certainly, I will get all of the options and all of the appropriate options under the liquor permits and everything else we need to take into account, and I'll report back.
What about the DJ? Do we have a volunteer DJ?
We do not have a volunteer DJ at the time. However, I have, through one of my other volunteer jobs, I do have a relationship with Mark the Shark. So I'm going to reach out to see if he's available. I don't know if you're familiar with him, and there's a couple of other options as well that we're going to reach out to. Volunteer would be great, but if we have to spend a couple $100 to get a really fun DJ, we'll get people out and having fun, then I think it's a worthwhile expense.
My only other thing I wanted to bring up about it is I came up with some ideas for a theme for like decorations and the tickets and the raffle prizes and things like that. And I was wondering if maybe anybody else had any ideas, or if we could come to a sort of consensus on an idea, or how do you feel about that?
Well, decorating, you need to check on the hall because it's a brand new hall.
I have the regulations for that.
And there
You
is,
can't tape anything to the walls,
Yeah,
but you
there's
can do table decorations.
yeah, table decorations.
Yeah.
As far as ticket price, Lily and I, if you don't mind, I could call you sometime, we could talk about it.
Why don't we meet?
Me,
Why don't we meet?
Yeah.
And we could talk about all these details, because I do have more information from the venue. We can go through all of this rather than hashing it out now. We can go through it and report back to the commission. We want the tickets to be fairly affordable so that people want to come to it, but we also want to make money on it. So we will have to discuss what all of our costs are and go from there.
Yeah.
But if that's okay with the commission, if the commission and Karen, are you okay with that? If we meet and then report back to the commission via email and talk about it next month?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
My other question would be, when would we need to get the, information out and advertising, perspective? That was my question on seeing if we needed to decide now on a theme or not.
It would be a
Um,
good idea to have a save the date put out now, just like on Facebook. It doesn't have to be sent to anybody specific, but Facebook, the newsletter, community groups, our normal advertising folks that would go out to, town
Okay.
departments. And then it doesn't even necessarily have to have a theme. We'll just make it pretty. And then once we decide the rest, we'll get out specific information, invitations and everything else.
I think you want to try
Rare,
to do-
how about the rare reminder?
Yep, we can advertise in the reminder for sure.
And I already have a commitment for one, a basket they're gonna make, because they basically suggested us having like baskets like at the library party.
Mhm.
We
yes,
could-
the raffles, yep.
We could get people to do those raffles and have fabulous baskets for, I already have one insurance agency, actually Rui.
Mhm.
He owns an insurance agency, he's gonna give us a whole big basket
Wonderful.
already,
Wonderful.
so.
Thank him, thank you.
Things like that, and we'll also have like a raffle, and
Yep.
they're very good on that.
Yeah, we can talk about raffles, door prizes,
Yeah.
we want a little award ceremony, or make something really fun for the members. We can do that. Those are things we can hash out in the next couple of weeks, but we'll get the word out. In the meantime, so people get, start to get excited about it.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
And let
And
them
we have-
know, make sure you let them,
Sorry,
make
I'm
sure
sorry,
you
Jen.
let them know what the fundraiser is for.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, very important. Okay, so that's the nutrition program is kind of the bulk of my discussion this evening. Is there any other questions on that?
No,
Any,
Okay.
no? Thank you, Lillian and Ed.
Yep.
Thank you
Of
very
course.
much.
Anything else you got?
Um,
You won't regret the food, the food
It
is.
doesn't sound
incredible.
like it. It sounds really good. It's really good. Looking forward to it. Okay.
Okay. If there's another discussion on the nutrition program, April special meeting,
Yes, so we are doing, at the last meeting, you voted to do a special meeting, 2 meetings in April. Our regular meeting, and I don't have the date. What did we say, April 2nd? Or April 6th? I can't remember what it was now. That's not gonna,
look it up.
it's April 2nd, that's correct. So we'll do our regular meeting at 6 PM on April 2nd, and then we're going to do a afternoon input session in which the commission will post it as a commission meeting if we think we're gonna get a quorum. If not, we will post it as a public information session in which the commissions are, I'm sorry, a public input session in which the commissioners are welcome to attend. I will also work with the town manager about inviting the town councilors who might be available during the day. And what we're going to do is a structured input session for the members, the volunteers, members of the public if they wish, although I would cater this more towards existing members who already are involved with us, about what they'd like to see at the center. By
What was that date?
April 2nd, the afternoon session will be at 1 or 2 PM. I'm not on my own laptop, so I don't have this info right now, but
I think I put down. 1
yeah,
o'clock.
1 o'clock, okay. And then we'd have our regular commission meeting in the evening.
In the evening, so, okay.
So again, more info will follow about that, or we're going to put a blurb in the, it is in the February newsletter, and we'll have more information in the March newsletter about it, because it's right at the beginning of April, so putting it in the April newsletter, people won't see it, in time. So we will put all the info in the newsletter. At the next meeting, I will present to you my plans for how we're gonna structure this, because it does need to be structured so that it doesn't become a free-for-all of people yelling out what they want from us. So we'll do that, and we'll try to keep it fairly efficient, under hour and a half, because after that, it kind of tends to just travel a little bit. And then we will also serve refreshments.
sounds good.
So we'll have more info on that next month.
Okay. Let's see. Interest on the SDC. funds.
This is actually something I would like to ask for action from the board, since we have a quorum. For the past couple months, Karen has recommended that we move a portion of our donation funds accounts, our entire donation funds account, to what's called the STIF account, which is an interest-bearing account. So I've been back and forth with the finance director on this. Her ultimate recommendation is to move half of our funding, our available funding to that interest bearing account and leave half liquid in our current checking account. And you can, and the reason I was initially concerned about not being able to access that donation account, because we use it for everything from buying supplies for the coffee shop to running programs. And, you know, again, our budget outside of salaries is like 20-something thousand a year. So we rely very heavily on these donations. And I was worried about having them tied up in a fund that we couldn't easily access. We can put them into an accessible interest-bearing account, like a checking account, but the interest rate is so low, it's not worth the effort. So she recommended that we put half of our savings, not our savings, I'm sorry, half of our donation funds into that interest-bearing account, which still leaves us half for everyday use. And we can, of course, transfer out of the interest-bearing fund when we need to. Right now, we have a total of, well, we have $227,164 total in donations. However, that includes a portion of our lunch donations, which I would like to keep out of it. So again, I had this on my other computer, so let me just do the calculations again. 227,164 minus 6619. So we have a total, not counting nutrition, of $220,555. If the commission would like to authorize the finance director to transfer half of that into an interest-bearing account, that is $110,277 to be
I have a-
transferred. Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just have a question before we vote on that. When it comes to that, is stiff, is that what you called it? STIF?
STFF, there's no I or
Okay,
STIF.
well,
Yeah.
when we put it in that account, I know it's not as liquid as a checking account, but how often can we access it? How long will it take to get the money out? And is there a penalty if we access it?
There's no penalty, but I do not know how often we can access it. I believe it's a matter of a transfer. I don't know if there's a limit of how many transfers you can make per month.
And then,
So
how
I-
quickly do we get access to it? Like, do we have to, like, we can't touch it for 3 months, or, or like when we ask for money, it has to wait like a week to get to us? Like, is it just, why is that account have a higher interest rate than a regular checking account? I guess I'm saying, like, there's gotta be some hidden or some underlying, not benefit, but some underlying like cause or, stipulation for us to put money in it.
So I admittedly do not know a ton about this in terms of municipal government. However, there are very stringent rules and regulations on how you could invest government funds. So we can't withdraw half of our money and go down to Webster Bank and open up a CD. It just isn't allowed. So that's all controlled by this stiff program. So that's why we can't, that's why there are those regulations and rules and why we can't just go, shop around and get a better interest rate. I can find out what the limits are to withdrawal. It's up to the finance department to be able to do so if we request it, just like if we request any other budget transfer, it would go through the finance department. I will tell you that unless we have a significant serious emergency, which I can't imagine something that we would do that would come out of our own funding as opposed to facilities or whatever, emergency funding. This is our money to use for programming, for the coffee shop, for the gift shop. I would never anticipate us having to use more than half of that at any given time, like for any single transaction. And we would never like run out and say, oh no, we're out of money, we need to transfer money. That's just, first of all, we monitor these accounts very closely. I look at Josie provides reports, but I can go in anytime, any day and see what we have in all of our various donation accounts. And certainly if we aren't receiving donations and we realize that we're draining our account, then we would take action very quickly. So the finance director did ask for a vote. If you're not comfortable with that and you'd like me to get that additional information, I'm happy to do so and share it with you for the next meeting.
think
A
that's-
stiff means, it stands for short-term investment fund. And it's a type of investment pool that focuses on short-term money market instruments. And, it's supposed to be completely liquid. I think I sent you the information, Jamie, a
Correct.
link.
The finance director gave me a
Um,
little bit of information about its ability to be liquid, because I can't think of the word. So It is liquid, but the options for a liquid account are going to earn us less money. Her recommendation, I trust her as the finance director, is to donate, is to split it half and half.
Okay, well, half with a good interest amount is better than nothing, which is what we have now, so.
But you,
again,
but you don't know the terms of the not touching it, because obviously it's not liquid like a checking account. So there must be some sort of term or some sort of stipulation or some how you can access it. There must be some line item.
Correct.
Okay,
It is
I have in front of me that it says high liquidity, often with 100% daily access.
100% what access?
And 100% daily access. But we'd have to have the department get the money for us. So they would have to take
Right,
it
there's
out.
a
They would
process there
manage
that
that.
I'm already familiar with. Again, the finance director is indicating that it's prudent to do half and half. There's likely some liquidity, but there's also going to be different types of accounts, and the type of account that I believe is fully liquid is gonna get us not much at all.
Okay.
So it sounds like, again, up to the commission what you'd like to do, but I'm happy to get specifics from her. I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to take the vote tonight. And at a future meeting, you could always vote to say, never mind, we don't want this, and we'll take it out. But the point I want to make is I'm very, very comfortable with having half, even if it's more difficult to access. We still have plenty of money to run our day-to-day operations.
I
just-
So
I would still
I
want to
think-
know the stipulations before I vote. That's just my concern.
Okay, and I'm thinking a little differently. I think that we should put half in now and then go through the regulations and the stipulations and see if we could put more in at another time. But at least start getting interest instead of waiting another month. That is my thought. What about, Ed or who else has a thought?
We have Ed and Kathy in the room.
I agree with you.
Lillian.
Lillian online, yes.
I agree with you're saying that we should do it now so we don't postpone it more to lose that interest. And then get the answers to those questions. To make sure we get that resolved.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the half, and finance director that's their
That's her
job.
Yeah,
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think she's gonna steer us in a direction that we're gonna be doom and gloom. So, and you're right, something's better than nothing. It's a lot of
Yeah.
money that can gain, when we're looking at counting pennies and counting different things and whatever for programs and for the nutrition, whatever. So, I mean, it just would benefit us, I think.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I would just also like to add, for the grand scheme of things, we have about like less than a month, about 3 weeks until we have our next meeting. No matter what interest rate you're going to be able to get, we're not going to make more, we're not going to lose more than like $50 or $100 in the month. My only concern is putting it in there and then you can't access it for a year. I feel that we should be fully informed in where we're putting our money and how we can get the money out before we worry about making money. I think keeping track of it and being able to access it is more important than the small amount. But I understand what you're saying.
So again, this is completely the commission's call. I'm happy to do whatever you wish, but I just do want to emphasize it is a shorter term investment. So there's not going to be a situation where it's trapped for a year.
Yeah, and I just read you what some of the regulations are. It says high liquidity, often with 100% daily access. And that's coming right from the stiff account regulations. So, I mean, even $100 is $100 more than we would have had. So I would like to get it into an account. But we can take a vote.
We need a motion.
a motion to pass accepting it now, the way you mentioned, and getting the answers to those questions for the future.
Okay, if I may make a suggestion, I would make the motion to authorize the finance director to move half of our account into a stiff fund. So that way the action is specific,
Okay.
whatever the balance
yeah.
is when she does it, yeah, which might be a couple dollars more or less than it is now.
You worded better.
Okay.
I go with Jamie's suggestion.
And I second the motion.
Any more discussion on the matter? No. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. Okay,
Motion
so
passes.
carried.
Okay. Thank you for your
And then-
patience while I gathered info on that.
And Jamie, you'll get back to us about specifics, how
As
we
soon as
get money out. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Thank you. Because this has been bothering me for a while. Let's see, what are we on?
Or,
Door counter.
We've heard nothing back. I'm sorry. I know this is incredibly frustrating. Unfortunately, it's one of many things we're juggling and I haven't received any updates recently.
Is it possible to write a letter to IS?
Oh, I'm in contact with IT. They're just juggling many
Oh.
things. I just don't think we're at the top of their list. I mean, I want to just say that every town department is wonderful and they're all there to help and they'll jump right in if we need it, including IT. But I just think right now there's just too many balls up in the air. So I will continue to hound them on your behalf and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
New business, upcoming activities.
Yep, really quick. Our February is wonderful. We have a lot of things coming up. Including, I could just go through a couple of quick ones. We said we have the meet and greet coming up. That's not till April, but that's in our input session. That's in the newsletter. We have a WISE one-time session. Actually, it was today. It's over. Never mind. Which is the intergenerational program at CCSU. It's very popular. They had the opportunity to join one more class, so they did that today. We have a class about celebrating joy, happiness, and humor coming up. So I think that's something that everybody needs this time of year, especially when it's dark and gray. This is actually Kindness Week. So we are celebrating random acts of kindness this week and all the time. And there is a bulletin board, some suggestions about that. And we've done a little bit of that around the center as well. We do a program on, that's a Beat the Winter Blues, which is an afternoon of entertainment and refreshments. That's coming up next week. We are doing various adult coloring classes, which folks find very relaxing, various craft classes. We're doing another very popular pickleball clinic. Those always fill up very quickly. Vintage radio, we did already a vintage radio, no, it's coming up, a vintage radio and communications museum presentation. Our AARP driver safety course is coming back up. Again, we do that every couple of months. And that's great because it's not it's not like a driving class per se when you're in the car. It's a classroom and it can help you save some money on your car insurance. We have a card class with Rose coming up towards the end of the month. Just a lot of great things. I had something else to share with you too, but it's not coming up right now. Our AARP tax program is in full swing. It started, well, it was supposed to start last Thursday, but schools were closed, so we had to cancel. It starts tomorrow and hopefully schools don't close. We do have a makeup date for the appointments that were last Thursday. We've contacted everybody. The program is full right now. So we have wonderful volunteers to prepare your tax returns for free every Thursday from now through April 10th. Although the program is full, we encourage folks who want to be part of it to call and be added to the wait list because we have 24 to 30 appointments per day and people cancel from time to time. So please, if you would like your taxes done, use us as a plan B, give us a call, we'll put you on the list. And we would obviously call people if we have a cancellation, we'll call somebody on that list. So that's about it. We have going forward in March, we're gonna have a couple coffee hours I don't have the date set in stone yet, but one will be with our deputy town assessor, Danielle, to discuss programs available to older adults and disabled adults for tax rebates and veterans. So she's gonna do a coffee hour that you can meet up with people. We're gonna have a coffee hour with the town manager towards the end of the month. So we have lots of good information coming up.
Building update.
Nothing specific. We had an issue last week with our alarm system and phone lines. Kathy, you might have been here when it happened. The alarms kept going off in the morning. And then unfortunately, it kept calling 911 from somewhere in the wires of the system. Something was tripping and it was setting off our internal silent alarms and calling the police. That was very quickly addressed and resolved. Other than that, status quo, we continue to be grateful for the help we get. We've had no water main breaks or anything in a couple weeks now, so that's good.
Purchase requests.
I don't have anything specific. The payment for the Portuguese American Club was exactly $500. I don't have any, so we were able to do that. I did speak to the town manager about if we have to upfront costs. It doesn't sound like we're going to have to and do anything else with the Portuguese Club, but if we need to pay a DJ in advance or we need to buy some decorations or printing, anything like that, he gave me permission to utilize the donations fund. And then we would be reimbursed when tickets are sold. With the caveat that if it doesn't look like we're gonna sell enough tickets to make the money back, that we would have to cancel or figure something out. So I don't need anything from the commission on that. It's just an informational item.
Next meeting date. And I think we talked about that. Oh, no, it's March.
March 5th.
March 5th. Is everyone
you're
okay
away.
with that date?
Well,
No, I should be
I'll
back.
be on groups.
Ed will not be here.
Good for me.
Okay.
I can maybe zoom you from the beach.
That'll just make us jealous.
Well, that's why I have the lights up so you can't see the ocean.
Nice.
I'm fine with that. I'm home. Anyone else? Everyone okay with that? So March 5th. Public participation. Dave, anything? AJ?
Just would like to say, this is Dave, just would like to say that I know the council appreciates Jamie coming last night for the presentation of an update of the nutrition program. Normally you would hear about it first, but since the date for this meeting was moved until after, you're hearing it afterwards, but we do appreciate all everything that's doing in this department and Jamie in particular for seeing us through this.
Thank you.
These troubled waters and I believe I can speak for the council saying we're all supporting and we'll try to aid in whatever ways we realistically can. And once again, March 15th is when Saturday morning, beginning at 9 is when we go over the section of the budget that includes the senior center. And I believe the senior center is at the very beginning of the list.
It's nice and early. The public, and of course, that's a public meeting. It's a town council meeting, so anybody who's interested in attending.
So one can attend or view, but at any rate, if you do wish to view, you don't have to sit there for hours and
8 or
hours.
10 hours.
until we come up to, or you're listening, I believe you're second. I'm
Yes,
not sure.
thank you for that. Nice and early.
Yes, thank you. Anything else? AJ? No.
Nothing crazy. Just thanks for everything you do. I'm excited for you guys to get the party all planned and put together. Sounds like it's gonna be a good time. I live close to the Portuguese club, so I love to hear that. But other than that, no, just thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn,
I'll
unless,
second.
is there anything?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
We have a motion and a
Um,
second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Have a good night,
Thank
everybody. Thank
Jamie.
you. Take
you
care.
too. Bye.
Bye. Kate.
Bye.